House in Baltimore, and officially sort of kind of summer, and certainly Oriole baseball heating up here at home, and a big series against the Yankees and a win. And now we get things started against the Boston Red Sox, and the Orioles have suddenly come back to life here against the American League East. Certainly Wade Miley. Luke Jones joining us here to discuss a beginning of a series that the Orioles will take the win on Thursday night despite the little mini comeback by the Red Sox in the ninth inning.
Yeah, and I mean a comeback that, I mean, it's annoying, but never really felt in serious jeopardy. And really, Donnie Hart can't give up a 3-run homer in the ninth inning. But really, the story of Thursday night's win was two things. I mean, it was the Orioles hitting 4 home runs and starting to see that offense really start to heat up. Clearly, Trumbo got them off to a good start in the first inning, but they hit 4 home runs. And Wade Miley, really good. Really exactly what the Orioles are looking for from any starter on a given night. And as much as we've seen the 5-inning dentist chair kind of outings where he's throwing 110 pitches to get 15 outs, Wade Miley was quite efficient on Thursday night. Lots of ground balls, not a whole lot of loud contact. I mean, you look at that Red Sox lineup, we've talked about it a lot. Clearly they've missed David Ortiz, but, Pedroia's out right now. Sandoval hasn't been anything like they hoped he would be, and clearly that contract's been disappointing. And they've got some other guys not really hitting at a level that you would expect. So, you kind of look at that Red Sox lineup and you say, okay, a few of those guys I recognize, but there's also some names in there that I don't recognize quite as much. Wade Miley did a really nice job against them, and again, you hit 4 home runs, and it's June at Camden Yards. I mean, you knew it was going to be sooner rather than later as far as that goes, but adds up to a nice win. And you said it, all the Orioles needed, despite the fact that you look at the AL East and 4 teams are above 500. Toronto's 2 games below 500. So you easily could say it's the best division in baseball, but the Orioles have been terrific against the AL East. Their issues have been when they've gotten outside the division.
Well, it'll serve them well in the end, and as you pointed out, the home run's something that we haven't talked a whole lot about the first 2 months, and I know they had heated up around this time last year. Part of it is Adam Jones hit a pop fly.
Yeah.
Some of these home runs that just clear the wall, I'll take those too. Jones will steal a couple of those. It kind of half did early in the game on Thursday night, although I don't think the ball would have gone over the wall. I think it looked a little more dramatic than it was. But, we're starting to see a little bit of air under the baseball on these, 75, 80-degree nights. The other thing about Wade Miley, and I am reading my Peter Principles that I wrote 3.5 years ago, so I'm giving you fair warning that I'm releasing it at some point here soon because it's all done. But, part of it was going back to the Ray Miller era. And, his whole thing was throw strikes, change speeds, work fast. Isn't that pretty much what Wade Miley did on Thursday night? And part of that is the working fast part. I kind of had a funny little line with Tom Lydon from Fox 25 up in Boston. We had him on today. You can go to the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault and hear that. And he said, hey, well, the good thing about Wade Miley is at least he works fast. When he pitches, game's going to get over in 2 hours and 38 minutes. Sometimes he's not going to make it to the 5th inning. But on a night when the Red Sox swung the bats a little bit, he did not get stupid upside down in counts. He didn't walk people. He didn't come close. He wasn't going full count on everybody. That Jimenez way of doing things, the efficiency of what he did is just as important as the result, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, this was the happy medium, Wade Miley. I mean, he works fast, but as you just said, deep counts. We've seen his strikeout numbers go up this year. We've seen his walk numbers go up this year. Really uncharacteristic for him. But you saw what he did Thursday night. Didn't strike out a lot of people. I think he only registered 5 swinging strikes, so he wasn't missing a lot of bats. But if you watched it, he didn't get. There was very little loud contact. There was very little hard contact. I mean, I think he got 11 ground ball outs compared to 6 fly balls. I mean that's what you want.
He was in command, truly,
yeah.
And in command with a lead. I mean, they staked him out to a lead in the beginning, and then they extended it, and he was in great shape.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that, he's not going to, you don't expect him to pitch 7 innings and give up 1 run the way that he did. I mean, you love it when it happens, but can he find that happy medium where he's working fast? You don't want him to throw fastballs right down the middle. I mean, no one's suggesting that, but when you're working around the edges of the strike zone as carefully as he has at times, you're going to have some of these starts where you throw 115 pitches to get through 5 innings, and it's going to be maddening. So can he find that groove where you get that happy medium? You know, you don't want him pitching down the heart of the plate, which he did way too much last year, but you know, he's got to be more aggressive than he's been at times this year, and I think finding a good tempo is a big part of that, and he's certainly someone who works fast. So from that standpoint, I'm sure Rob Manfred appreciates it, given his pace of play wishes in Major League Baseball. But was really good to see that, and again, Miley not really challenged. Early on, as you mentioned, Mookie Betts hits one all the way to the wall that. You know, Adam Jones wasn't a spectacular play. It was a nice play at the wall, and I agree with you. I'm not so sure it would have gone over, but you know that kind of calmed things down right away, and Miley settled in very quickly after that.
He is Luke Jones. You can follow his work, Baltimore Luke, on Twitter, as well as Luke at WNST.net. Yes, he's coming down with a cold, but he's not sick of the Orioles winning. And certainly, getting this win earlier in the series. And I know Bundy's going on Saturday night, but, you're staring down the gauntlet if there's a real price on Saturday night. Obviously, the Chris Sale deal on Sunday, they bring him in to win games like this. And the other part of this is, the clean living part of this series. And you and I did not preview this series fully, but the fireworks, the nonsense, the shenanigans that went on a couple of weeks ago, I would like to think that some of that could go away by Sunday. I'm not sure of that, but I do know the Orioles are going to see better pitching this weekend than they usually see.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's done. I mean, at this point, what else needs to be proven? I mean, a guy's been suspended. Manny Machado's been thrown at multiple times. If I'm Boston, if you're going to go after Machado more, why would you do that? Why would you poke a sleeping giant at this point? Now, Manny did get 2 hits, snapped an 0 for 18. Didn't exactly sting the ball, but maybe that's what gets him going. Gets a couple hits. One was that swinging chopper for an infield hit. So if I'm Boston, I'm just going to let him be. I think they proved whatever point they were trying to make, which I still think was so incredibly over the top. It's still amazing how this all started with a slide that wasn't a good slide, but other than some Boston fans, I don't think I found anyone who thought there was malicious intent there to hurt Dustin Pedroia. But that's neither here nor there. Pedroia's on the DL for a different issue now. Machado's been struggling mightily, so you hope it's over. But your point about the Orioles getting the first one in this series, I think that's big, especially considering Eduardo Rodriguez has been pitching so well, and we've seen what Wade Miley has been. ERA looks good, but basically every other peripheral stat just makes you cringe, but pitched really well. And in a 4-game set with the Red Sox, now you have a chance. You can take 2 out of these 3 and win the series. At worst, you can win one of the next 3, and as you mentioned, not going to be easy when you're facing Chris Sale on Sunday, David Price Saturday, and Rick Porcello on Friday, who he's not having the best season, but we know what he did last year. So at the very least, you win one of those, and you at no worse split with the Red Sox. You want to do better than that, but getting the first one, it does ease the pressure a little bit, and I like the fact that coming off of a stretch where they've lost 13 of 16, that they've taken 3 out of 4 now, and coming against the Yankees and the Red Sox, pretty good competition. It just speaks to, once again, how good this team has been at home and how rough it's been for them on the road, and specifically playing against the AL East, they've been very, very good at home.
He is Luke Jones. You can find him, Baltimore Luke, and Luke at WNST.net. As far as the Orioles and hitting home runs and slumps and all that stuff, Machado's where this thing's going to start and end for them, right? Like, he cannot bat 211 this year. He's going, and if he's going to hit 260, 280, he's going to start getting on base. He's going to have a torrid streak somewhere in here where he's going to bat 429 for 18 games or something. I don't know when that's going to happen. Clearly, he's a Major League Baseball player. He's done this for a long period of time. It's the first time he's struggled. This will be a discussion until he stops struggling. A couple of hits on Thursday night sort of helps that.
Yeah, it was good to see that. And again, didn't sting the ball, but sometimes it starts with, just a couple, not seeing eye hits or chopper or swinging bunt or whatever you want to call it. We all know the guy is way too talented to be hitting 211. I mean, it's absurd that it's early June and he's hitting at that level. You'll look at all the different sabermetric stats, exit velocity, batting average on balls in play, and all of that suggests that he's hitting in some tough luck. Now, he's striking out more, and that's certainly been an issue for him.
Well, it's hard to hit the ball when you don't touch the ball, right?
Right. So, that's not when I say he's been unlucky, that's not to give him an excuse to say that everything is fine. Clearly, things have not been fine. And the big thing I've looked at, if you look at some of these sites that kind of break down batting average against different types of pitches and things of that nature, this is a kid who, unsurprisingly, absolutely hammered fastballs. Through last season, I think had a career somewhere in the neighborhood of 325, 330 against four-seam fastballs. This year, he is well under 200 against fastballs, and how much of that is some rough luck? Okay, maybe that's part of it. How much of that is perhaps getting a little too pool happy, trying to hit too many fly balls, trying to hit too many home runs? I think that's part of it, and I think the big thing, if he's missing fastballs, striking out a little bit more, you really get the sense, and we've seen this, good fastballs on the outer half of the plate in the past. What have we seen Machado do with that? Hit those line drives to right center, to right, hit some balls out of the ballpark the opposite way. I mean, he's got plenty of power. This isn't a guy who has to try to hit home runs in order to hit home runs. It's just going to happen for him.
Well, the contact has to happen first. Yeah. You can't hit a home run if you don't touch the ball.
It is, but if you get a little bit too pull happy on some of those outside pitches, you're going to miss more. You're going to swing and miss more, and that's what we've seen from him. So really, it's not to say that he's been great against other pitch types, but the big difference for him is this is a kid who has absolutely feasted on fastballs, and that hasn't happened for him this year. Now, he struggled. He's really struggled against the slider as well, but you just look at the breakdown. He's gotten away from what made him successful 2 years ago, the first half of last year. Keep in mind, down the stretch last year, he didn't really hit. He didn't struggle like this, but he didn't really hit at a level that you'd come to expect. So, long story short, I'll still say what I've said to you for quite a while. Yes, I'm more worried now than I was a month ago about Manny Machado, but we've seen this guy do such incredible things and make this game look easy. I still think he's going to be fine. Is he going to have a career year this year? Probably not when you're hitting 211 in early June, but I don't expect him to continue at this pace. And, one of the reasons why I do have some optimism for this club, despite all the pitching issues, is that they haven't had guys that are off to career starts, career year kind of starts. Trey Mancini maybe being the one exception as well as he's played as a rookie. But I fully expect Machado to go on a tear. I fully expect his numbers to be there in the end. Even with as much as he's struggled, he's right there near the top in home runs, right there near the top in RBIs. So it's not as though he hasn't produced at all, but certainly we've seen a much better version of Manny Machado over the last couple years than what we've seen over the first 2 months.
And by the way, we talk so much about Machado getting his $400 million. Jonathan Scope's going to get $125 million when his turn comes, right? He has really emerged here over the last. And I know we're a little further away from that, but in the end, he's going to have a better season than Machado. It appears at this point.
Well, I still think Manny's numbers could be better in the end as far as, overall numbers other than maybe batting average. But Scope, he's someone that, it's amazing to think where he was in 2014. And keep in mind, this was a guy who didn't have a ton of action at AAA Norfolk because he had, I think it was a stress fracture in his back that year, got called up at the end of 2013. 2014 was pretty much here because of his defense. He had a few home runs here and there, but overall was really rough offensively, and he's just steadily gotten better. The walk rate still isn't anywhere close to where you'd like it to be, but it's gotten a little bit better, very incremental, but that's what you're looking for, and continues to hit for power. Hit a long home run. I think the funniest moment of Thursday night's game when he struck out on what amounted to an ephus pitch from Fernando Abad, 60 miles per hour. That was a heck of a change up to a changeup even. But Scope's really coming to his own. I think the big question with Jonathan Scope, we don't talk about this a whole lot. He's so good at turning, the pivot to turn the double play, but and this is where I'll have a little bit more of a criticism of him, and really not even his fault. He's so big that you wonder if he's going to have enough range long term to stay at second base. He doesn't get to a lot of balls, that in the hole, has some issues with the backhand. I still wonder long term if he's a guy, whether with the Orioles or whoever else he might play for in the future. I mean, I don't know.
Becomes a left fielder?
I could see outfield. I could see third base for him. Depending on what happens with Machado. I mean, he's got the arm that he could play third base, but that's there's one issue about Jonathan Scope that I think about beyond the plate discipline, and he's never going to be a guy who walks 80 times. I think we all can.
But you just don't want him to strike out 140 either.
Right. So I mean, he's clearly a really productive offensive player, but I do wonder long term if he's going to be able to stick at second base, just because he's 25 now, but range doesn't get better as you get into your late 20s. It only diminishes. So that's the one thing about Scope that I just ponder long term, what his best position might end up being, because he has had some issues at second base this year. But for right now, that's not a topic of conversation for 2017. But it's been really good to see him swing the bat the way he has, and he's been one of their more consistent hitters this year. I mean, we've seen obviously Machado we've talked about a lot. Jones has hit home runs the last couple nights, but he hasn't fired on all cylinders since the first few weeks of the season. Trumbo was awful in April. Chris Davis has had his moments, but has had some moments where he's been pretty brutal. Scope has been more consistent. Other than the first 2 weeks he didn't hit. We talked about that. Since then, he's been pretty darn consistent, and he's been one of their best run producers over the course of the season.
He is Luke Jones. He is Baltimore Luke on Twitter, as well as Luke at WNST.net. He'll be covering the games all weekend. Porcello and Asher on Friday night. Saturday, the big national game, as well as the giveaway. David Price and Dylan Bundy. That'll be a good one on Saturday night, Luke. And then Sunday, Chris Sale and Chris Tillman getting together. Birds go off to New York on Tuesday. The Red Sox go off to New York on Tuesday. The Orioles take it. They're home, correct?
They're off
Pittsburgh
Monday,
and then Washington on Thursday.
Two.
There you go. So,
one of those strange 2-game interleague series that make very little sense. And then keep in mind they'll be back in D.C. Next Thursday?
Yeah, it was a week where they were going to get some real rest for the rotation, and that all gets washed out by the washout in Washington last month. So there you have it for the Birds all weekend. We're going to continue on here. The Bayou Toyota Audio Vault is there for you 24 hours a day for anything you miss. I was gone a little earlier in the week, back to reality here and back to Oriole baseball for the weekend as the Red Sox are in town. Also monitoring the NBA Finals, and of course I said Warriors in 5. I hope that prediction holds up. But so far, so good on the Warriors side. LeBron's got a lot of work to do, especially when this series gets back to Cleveland in the early part of next week. You can find me anytime, anywhere on Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, nasty at WNST.net. We're always streaming live on Facebook as well as on our YouTube WNSTV channel. If there's any breaking news at all over the weekend and the Orioles are certain to be sending guys up and back and forth, you'll get it all first on the WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.